Welcome everyone to Business Morning. I am Bosin Amafai. It's Thursday, the 21st of February, and of course we're live to you from Lagos, Nigeria's economic and financial capital. Nigerian authorities says formal businesses in the financial markets will be closed tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, to allow Nigerians prepare for the rescheduled presidential and legislative elections. Of course, that's on Saturday the 23rd. Just before that, the market trades here remained calm and largely positive since Tuesday, after Monday's initial knee-jerk reaction to the election's postponement, which was last Saturday. Okay, so we'll just put this also in the news in case the political noise is getting the better of the headlines. President Buhari on Wednesday in Abuja received special envoy of Saudi Arabia's King Salman bin Abdulaziz and other kingdom's top officials. President Buhari, of course, the meeting says Nigeria will consider a cutback in the country's crude oil output in show of support for Saudi Arabia's current efforts at limiting output between OPEC and other non-OPEC members, in particular Russia, and looking to keep oil prices at elevated levels. President Buhari was quoted as saying that, quote, says, I will speak with the Minister of State for Petroleum. I will call for the latest production figures. I know that it is in our interest to listen. We will cooperate. Saudi Arabia is seeking Nigeria's cooperation. President Buhari says higher oil prices will make both Nigeria and Saudi Arabia stronger and their citizens more prosperous. Saudi Arabia is leading OPEC plus oil producing countries by cutting its own output by 1.4 million barrels per day in order to stabilize global oil market and ramp up on prices. So where did we finish off with the stock market prices yesterday? Part of the market look for everyone. Temple Ashaju, business correspondent, is here in the studios, not at the stock exchange, I'm sure. He's missing the exchange just a bit. Temple, good morning. Good to have you.
Morning.
Let's run through the numbers. Market seems very calm and quiet and even a bit positive, giving the politicians, and that's my view, a chance to redeem themselves at this week's election.
And of course, that's simply because we are beginning to see huge optimism around the dividends, which is now calming a lot of investors of nerves and all of that. Because again, you have too much of these election jitters, everywhere. But again, a bit of macroeconomic fundamentals and convincing valuations from a lot of analysts and investors help as a guiding factor again in the markets. And of course, that's how we were able to have some 0.64% gains yesterday, driving up the key benchmark indices, which settled at 32,614.05 after we added some 207.88 absolute points. And of course, that implies 77.52 billion naira in terms of what we added to the equity capitalization yesterday. You got months to date and year to date gains increasing. Month to date expanded 6.738%, and year to date rose to 3.77%, which is a plus. In fact, we also had a good market breadth yesterday, 26 gainers led by Nigerian Breweries, which is of course declaring a bit of dividend that some traders and some investors are just seeing 1 naira 83 kobo in the market. So yesterday, top trades, Sterling Bank, which is of course rebranding and of course doing a whole lot. Yesterday, we got the announcement of the fact that they got some $65 million credit line facilities from Arab Bank of Development in Africa. Of course, that is something that a lot of investors are really interested in. Therefore, Sterling Bank became the top traded security in the market yesterday, rising some 4.60%, and I'm very sure the 106 million units of its shares that we saw traded yesterday, valued at 254 million naira, will continue to increase this morning. So yesterday we got activity level really positive, 23% in terms of volume, and of course 36% in terms of value. And if you go further to the sectoral analysis, you'll see that banking sector, consumer goods segments, insurance, as well as oil and gas all did so well yesterday. Jaiz Bank, Wema Bank, Zenith Bank, which has a total dividend of 2 naira 80 kobo declared now, continues to grow in the market. A lot of investors continue to put their money on ground for that, which is now trading at 26 naira. In spite of the fact that we have a bit of profits taken due to the capital appreciation all the way from 22, 23 naira that it has been trading at for some time. So consumer goods segment of the market, Nigerian breweries, Guinness, and of course Dangote flour resumed so much of gains yesterday. Industrial goods, on account of the losses we saw on Dangote cement, was the only segment of the market that was down. But if you look at the insurance segment of the market, on account of the gains we saw on Prestige, Law Union, and Rock, and a couple of other names there, it was up some 122 basis points. And in oil and gas segment, Owando gained some 5 naira 88 kobo, and of course, Eternal PLC also did some 5.49%. And in the energy segment of the markets generally, there wasn't anything too much. Forte oil remained unchanged. Corn oil remained unchanged. A whole lot of them remained unchanged, except for the gains that we saw across Owando, 5.88%. 11 PLC also rose some 1.07%. Eternal PLC did some 5.49%. Global Spectrum, Japol had no change yesterday. At the NASD OTC, where you have a lot of unlisted securities, was a big down again yesterday, 0.34%, still with the USI at 737.43 points. Market cap was 529 billion naira, continues to reduce their volume. Yesterday was really low at 35,770. And if we move further to the debt market, where you've got bonds and of course treasury bills, we know that yesterday the debt management office auction yesterday was oversubscribed by some 156%. We understand there was demand across the 2028 security, which is offered by some 84% or thereabouts, and of course that's represented, the 84% is of the entire 150 billion naira that was offered yesterday. But generally in the secondary market, average yield widened some 6 basis points to 14.76%, and we saw sell-offs on some of those number securities that we have on the screen. The 27th of January 2022 security, in essence, which declined in price but had a high price of 104 naira, saw a bit of sell-off yesterday. But in terms of the yield, we saw expansion on it by some 30 basis points. March 2024 security is another one that also saw a bit of expansion. And if we finalize now with the T-bills, treasury bills, trading was bearish, but a little bit of bullish tilt. Average yield compressed 1 basis point to 14.47%. But we saw demand at the mid end of the curve, while we saw a lot of sell-offs at the short and the long end of the curve.
Okay, Tempo, we're checking back. Tempo is checking the markets. Just keep an eye on the rest of other things here. Tempo is checking with the markets, and later in the program to give us what you call the final call of the week. Tomorrow is the market is closed. Of course, the Nigerian Stock Exchange closes on every national public holiday declared by the Nigerian authorities. Outside that, the stock exchange is open 24/7. So let's get the conversation going. Of course, there's big story around the oil market. Was that Saudi Arabia, the world's leading oil producer, sent envoys to Nigeria to seek Nigeria's cooperation. The envoy of the Saudi Arabian King Salman Abdulaziz came in yesterday to visit President Buhari, and of course the idea was to get Nigeria to have a handshake with the kingdom over the pursuit by OPEC Plus to rein in output among member states, which of course Saudi Arabia is leading with by 1.4 million barrels cutback of its own. We'll talk about that with Nosike of FDC on Tuesday. We're going to continue that conversation a little bit today. Now, Nigeria, President Buhari says he will speak with according to media reports, says he will speak with the junior minister, oil minister, Dr. Ebe Kachiku, to find out what's the latest Nigeria's output figures, and then see how we can be part of that cutback. Nigeria also at the same time is still looking for more oil. We're trying to ramp up our oil. 2.3 million barrels per day was projections, President Buhari's administration's projection in the 2019 budget. How is going to balance that with the latest request from Saudi Arabia? It's going to be a tough one for Mr. President to work out how to cut back, but at the same time move some projections forward, because on the basis of those oil productions, we're putting our fiscal 2019